Hi, I'm Carol Parsons, Minister of Pastoral Care at First Pres Littleton, and I invite you to join me in our prayer for illumination. Loving God, we humbly ask that you make a clearing in our cluttered minds and hearts. Breathe on us breath of life, enliven, enlighten our minds and hearts, so as we hear your word read and talked about, we will be moved to do what is right in your sight. Amen. One of God's primary requirements for us is that we show kindness to all people. And in our first reading today, it tells about a time when King David went out of his way to show kindness to a relative who had not always been kind to him. We're going to start with 2 Samuel, just one verse of chapter 4, and then moving to the first 13 verses of chapter 9. Saul's son Jonathan had a son who was crippled in his feet. He was 5 years old when the news about Saul and Jonathan came from Jezreel. His nurse picked him up and fled, and in her haste to flee, it happened that he fell and became lame. His name was Mephibosheth. And then turning to chapter 9, we pick up the story. David asked, "Is there still anyone left of the house of Saul to whom I may show kindness for Jonathan's sake?" Now there was a servant of the house of Saul whose name was Ziba, and he was summoned to David. The king said to him, "Are you Ziba?" And he said, "At your service." The king said, "Is there anyone remaining of the house of Saul to whom I may show the kindness of God?" Ziba said to the king, "There remains a son of Jonathan. He is crippled in his feet." The king said to him, "Where is he?" Ziba said to the king, "He is in the house of Machir, son of Ammiel, at Lodebar." Then King David sent and brought him from the house of Machir, son of Ammiel, at Lodebar. Mephibosheth, son of Jonathan, son of Saul, came to David and fell on his face and did obeisance, showed him respect. David said, "Mephibosheth?" He answered, "I am your servant." David said to him, "Do not be afraid, for I will show you kindness for the sake of your father, Jonathan. I will restore to you all the land of your grandfather Saul, and you yourself shall eat at my table always." He did obeisance and said, "What is your servant that you should look upon a dead dog such as I?" Then the king summoned Saul's servant Ziba and said to him, "All that belonged to Saul and to all his house I have given to your master's grandson. You and your sons and your servants shall till the land for him, and shall bring in the produce so that the master's grandson may have food to eat. But your master's grandson, Mephibosheth, shall always eat at my table." Now Ziba had 15 sons and 20 servants. Then Ziba said to the king, "According to all that my lord and king commands his servant, so your servant will do." Mephibosheth ate at David's table like one of the king's sons. Mephibosheth had a young son whose name was Micah. And all who lived in Ziba's house became Mephibosheth's servants. Mephibosheth lived in Jerusalem, for he always ate at the king's table. Now he was lame in both his feet. This is the word of the Lord, and all the people said, "Thanks be to God."